Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we're going to be talking about bonds and courts. In my last discussion, we discussed how attorneys were not actually attorneys, how attorneys have been defrauding people, and how they are not a licensed corporation and that they are outdated on the registry with the Secretary of State within the state of California and many other states. Now, today we're going to be talking about bonds and the use of bonds in slavery tactics, the new age slavery, in the United States and what they're doing in these courts. This is all about bonds today. So when you go into the courtroom, when you're arrested, they use two different bonds. What they use to arrest you is filled out is called a bid bond. This is also the bond that is issued to you, let's say for $500,000 or $25,000 or $5,000, you get arrested, right? And you have to bail out. These are bail bonds. The United States District Court uses a 273, 74, and 75 standard form. These are federal issued cases, federal issued forms used to issue federal uh, jailhouse bonds to imprison you within the federal system. Now, there's another set of bonds which is used in the state level, and they're putting on, this is put out by the GSA. All these are put out by the GSA, and there's another set of bonds called the SF 24, 25, and 25A. These are the bid bond, the payment bond, and the performance bond. These are all the bonds that are issued within the system that the performance of the bond, the payment of the bond, and how they're going to pay it back. And so this is put out by the GSA. So what are these bonds? What are they doing with these bonds? What is going on in the courtroom is that they are suing you for a debt. So you're being sued for collateral debt. And if you look at these bonds, every one of these bonds, the bid bond, the performance bond, and the payment bond, all have a penal sum attached to it. The reason for the penal sum is if you don't pay the debt back, you go into default judgment. Believe it or not, the district courts buy all of these state court judgments. There are about 300 reinsurance companies that buy these bonds. They are all insurance companies. These people have been buying these bonds when you went into a default judgment. They cannot buy these bonds unless they are certified by the Secretary of Treasury. There's actually a website that's called judgmentmarketplace.com, and there's other people and companies that also are buying and selling bonds and these default judgments. And like I said, there's over 300. Now, where you buy and sell your state judgment on a market for cash. So your judgment, your default judgment is being sold to there are over 2,000 regulations governing these bonds. Commercial paper and negotiable instruments. Anything you put your signature on is a negotiable instrument under the Lex Mercatorum, which is in the courtroom. Because these are merchant laws, the merchant at law is anyone who holds himself out to be an expert. Because you use commercial paper on a daily basis, you are considered an expert. Now, remember, we discussed this in our last conversation, and I'll go over it again. The laws state that bankers, contracts, lending promissory notes, required lended money is not true money, such as banks, checks, cash, money orders, attorney checks, bank transfers, wire transfers, Federal Reserve promissory dollars, cashier's checks, and certified checks from the bank. Attorney or escrow companies are illegal pursuant to Title 31, Section 5118D2. and 31 U.S.C. A 463 and Public Law 97258. According to a September 13, 1982, the contracts requiring legal money such as cash money, money orders, bank transfers, wire transfers of Federal Reserve dollars are illegal and unlawful. As such, notes and instruments are national currency and thereby coin currency of the United States by statutory defined can be issued by a private bank whose banker members are the equivalent of money as pursuant to USC 12-1813L and must accept all bank and financial institutions as payoffs, sell-offs, discharges, and full settlements of debts and loans. And under the IRS section code 261.1001 4657 CHH, the Federal Reserve dollars are valueless. Only money that is lawful is gold and silver. So what they are doing is giving you a promise to pay, but we've discussed that. Now, let's get back to what we were talking about. As you can see there, these commercial and everyday papers that you use on a daily basis, since you're considered an expert, they don't have to tell you why or really what is going on in courtroom, as you are presumed to know this stuff, and you are holding yourself out to be an expert using commercial everyday paper. Every time you put your signature on that negotiable instrument, there are some that are non-negotiable, some that are negotiable. Every time you endorse something, you are acting as an accommodating party. As an accommodating party under the USC 3-419, accommodating party is anyone who loans a signature to another party. If you read it, it tells you that your accommodating maker is the accommodating party. When you loan a signature to them, you can rewrite your signature on any document they want. So that means when I sign my signature, my authorized signature, I am acting as a maker, and I am acting as I'm acting as an accommodator, not a maker. I'm acting as an accommodating party, which means they can write whatever they want on that document and change it any way they want. Now, when you loan your signature to them, they can rewrite it. Remember that every time you sign a document, whether it's just for a loan, whether you're going to the bank, whether you're signing a check to your managers for money, for housing, whether you're going and signing a signature on a paycheck, no matter what you're doing, you're becoming an accommodating party, according to this law. Now, excuse me, I lost my spot here. The federal court, they are rewriting your signature on any document they want, and obviously the federal courts are doing and buying the state default judges through that website. Remember the one I told you about, one of the websites I told you about, the www.judgmentmarketplace.com. That website actually is currently down because they're rebuilding a new website. Remember, these judgments are called quote criminal, but criminal cases, but they are actually covering up what they are doing. They are actually civil cases. If you read the clerk's practice, that's PRAXIS, you'll find what they call criminal is civil. Also, you can find it pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Court, Federal Rules of Court, Rule 1 and 2. And the form of action they call a criminal is actually a civil issue. And if you don't pay your debt, you go to jail or prison. That's the bottom line. And I wonder how many people who are watching this have ever heard of REIT. That's Real Estate Investment Trust, or PZN, which which is a prison trust. Prisoners are real estate. They are real estate because they hold a bond to them, and you haven't redeemed your bond, so they didn't close your account. So here's what goes on. A contractor comes in any corporation can come and tender a bid bond to the U.S. District Court and then buy up these court judgments, and anytime you issue a bid bond, there has to be a reinsurer. So they get a reinsurance company to come in and act as a surety for the bid bond. Then they bring the performance, all of these bonds, bid bonds and performance, and all of the sureties at any time they issue the bond, it has to have a surety guaranteeing or reinsuring a bid bond via issuance of performance bond. Then they underwrite, important word, and that they would either be an investment broker or an investment banker. They come in and underwrite the performance bond, which is reinsured. And the underwriter takes 3 bonds and pools them and creates what is known as a mortgage-backed security. So when you pool these MBSs, these mortgage-backed securities, they are called bonds, and they are sold with a company called TBA, which is a bond market associate. This is an actual corporation, which I'll post all this information so you can find it in the description here. And they convert these bonds. Now the MBSs are investment securities and are being sold at the international level. The CAA is one of the tickets on the New York Stock Exchange. So if you type in CAA, you can find on one of the tickers, you can find the stock exchange. And others include CWX, CWD, and CWG. And when it goes to Frankfurt, it equals CWG. When it goes to Berlin, it's CWD, and so on. So if you look at the law pursuant to 27 CFR 72.11 and you read carefully, it says kidnapping, robbery, extortion, murder are all commercial crimes, and you the human being, are funding the whole thing simply because you got into a default judgment when you went to court failing to redeem the bond. Remember, you are the principal upon which the money is circulating, but you're not trying to argue with the courts about that. They are drafting you for performance. So anytime a court asks you something, they are drafting you for performance. And if you don't perform, you get dishonored by non-acceptance. They are making a formal presentment under 3 USC 3-501 of the USC, so they can charge you, and they use the word charge, the same as a commercial word, when you indict, information, and complaint. They use these words charge, i.e. following charges, has 2 counts of charges, etc. What you need to do is settle the account, and you need to go into a full settlement disclosure. You are running the account. You are the fiduciary trustee over the account. You're a UCC contract trust. This is an insurance for the full retail amount because the principal and source a sufficient amount of your acceptance of whatever the bill happens to be, since whoever tells you how much the bill becomes the forbearer, who becomes a forbearer. Whoever carries the burden of proof by license, that would be the attorney, that would be your attorney, and you bind the testimony by your acceptance is the criminal charges. In fact, the acceptance of the deficiencies to the prepaid escrow account to the calendar is called an exempt priority. In fact, the adjustment of the principal allows the agent to take exempt priority to offset these deficiencies or adjust the account to zero. In other words, the fiscal year and calendar together make a whole year, and you request that the circuit deputy to take the deficiency charges of actions and put it into a circuit court. Requesting that the circuit court deputy takes the deficiency charges of action and puts it into the circuit court docket and calls the calendar or bail or / broker in charge of the adjustment to deliver the same principal request and release of accommodation, putting the whole account into one, and request that the order of the court be released to the principal with the conditions of acceptance. And you can say, I am more than happy to give you my name if you can show me the charges have been put into the court record. I have not seen any papers that show the charges exist. That is a negative avertment. What you are doing is rebutting the presumption that you have charges against you. They are working off what you are doing is called rebutting presumption. Remember, put everything in writing. Always put everything in writing. Even when you go to court, put everything in writing. And you are rebutting the presumptions against you. You have been put into that have been put into the court record. I have not seen any papers or charges exist, and then that negative avertment is now been rebutted. And you are asking for the bid bond. Say, I want the bid bond back. I want the settlement. I want to ask for a full settlement and closure of the account. It is your money, and you created this. And the same thing is going on with the banks with these bonds. Now, when they talked about these banks and bonds, I did research, and I have found out that the S&P 500 looks over these things as well. I heard this from FINRA, a company called FINRA who does bonds, and I also heard this from FINRA, and I also heard this from the S&P 500 and another website, the Bankers of America, Bankers Association, who also deal with this now. And these are actual companies that are doing these jailhouse bonds. Now, the monetized bonds, this situation is called a fiction of law. They will not allow you to defeat this because it's not real. The appointed counsel you can instruct them, because remember, you're in a maritime court, and you can do this by writing a letter of rogatory, ROGATORY, or a letter of advice. This is called an acceptance and honor account. Then you will give them your CUSP and AutoTrust number, which you can actually get off the websites that I'll be posting up in the description there. And your case number. Here's the wording you use. I accept the charges for the value and consideration in return for the post-settlement and closure of the case. Account number, we'll just use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then put down your 9-digit social security number and put down the CUSP, your SSN, and AutoTrust. Your SSN without dashes. Please use my exempt and full. Please use my exemption for full settlement and the closure of this account. And the account is prepaid for exemption from levy. Date it and endorse it. As the author, you date it and It's dated and endorsed as the authorized representative. The AutoTrist means Automated Tracking Identification System. This is the same as your social security number without dashes. And I said, and when I said I didn't even want to talk to you with me, uh, when I said that they didn't even want to talk to me, when you say cusp and AutoTrist, they know exactly what you're talking about. And I actually had that issue because they started. CUSP is actually called the Committee on Uniform Security Identifications. When I called the S&P 500, they gave me the information that I wanted. They said, "Okay, we're going to give you the information you want," but started to record me, and they started to record the conversation to see how much I knew. Now, you have to keep in mind, excuse me, um, remember that you can discharge a debt using the UCC 3-603, which is legal tender, and you can use the UCC 3-604, which is the discharge and remuneration. Remember that remember that this is all done through the IRS, and remember the IRS is a private entity and corporation in the state of Delaware. It has an entity number. If you look up it in the Secretary of State's business search, look up 0325720. They also have the Internal Revenue's Department of Treasury also has a EIN number, which is an employee identification number, 549139651, and the Federal Reserve Bank is 941160748. And I believe that individuals would get in less trouble if they argued this way and put in the proper paperwork. I will be putting together paperwork to show people how to go about doing this. I have some documents that I'm currently working on, but I wanted to go over this video and discuss a little bit about the bonds and how they are doing this and how they are defrauding people and putting people in prison with these bonds, and how that you can get these. Again, through the S&P 500, the Bankers Association, who deals with all these agencies deal with all this. I mean, keep in mind, every single government entity is a corporation. We are ran by corporations. That's the District Attorney's Investigator Office. When I asked about these, the attorney acted like she didn't know what I was talking about. She acted like she knew nothing about it. Hold on here, I'm gonna show you so people can see this. Local arresting agencies, the police departments, are corporations. The Martinez police officers are corporations. The California State Bar, which is acting as a business, but remember Business Professional Code 6001, and they are defrauding people, and they have been doing this for years. For years, they've been defrauding people, stealing people's money, and imprisoning people for debt, and putting them using these bonds and making money off of this market, the imprisonment. Even the DOJ is a business. Even the Bureau of Prisons is a business, and they defraud people. And I wanted people to watch this video. So I had put this information out there so people could watch and understand and learn some more about what is going on. I also want to address Frank White and his friend as well, who has been telling me that I have been making videos that they already know about. And if you have watched this video and you are watching this video and you don't like this video, And you shouldn't watch his stuff then. If you don't like it and you can't handle it and you only want to badmouth me. He said that his friend, who was in one of my posts, had decided, hold on a second, was the one making these videos, and that I was stealing his information and the videos that he had made as the original maker of these videos. But yet, when I looked on Ronald's page, Ronald had no videos. Ronald didn't have any videos, only a small playlist of maybe 4 or 5 videos. So to them, I say, you are a fraud. You are trying to steal credit for other people's investigative work, and then you are bad mouthing people because the information that they are giving is good information. And so I welcome all trolls that try to troll me. Just know that you are going to get smacked so hard if you don't come with the correct shit with me. I don't play that whole BS nonsense game of back and forth with an individual. I will give you straight facts. I will give you non-bullshit. And I will never beat around the bush of what is going on and what people need to know. So thank you for watching. Share, like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think of this video. And if you like this, share with your friends. Share this information and let people know. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I am World United Press. I have been your host, Elijah Dominguez. Thank you for watching.